Hello, I'm Casey Richardson with Castanet, and welcome to our Meet the Candidate series for the Penticton-Summerland riding. I'm here with Amelia Boultbee, running Conservative. Amelia, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Casey.
So, for those who don't know you, a quick 15-second introduction.
Yeah, I grew up here in Penticton, moved away to go to school, became a practicing lawyer, and then practiced law in downtown Vancouver for a few years. And then after my mom unfortunately passed away, my values changed, and I decided I want to go back to my hometown, be closer to my family. Came back to Penticton to find it a very different place than I had left it, and that's what got me into politics. Yeah.
And what is the most important issue facing the people of this riding, and how would you address it as an MLA?
I would say affordability is probably the biggest issue facing everyone in this riding. As a city councillor, I remember getting those reports saying that food bank usage is up 40% since 2017. And you hear the stories about people struggling with food security, which should never happen in a community like this. So the way that we're going to address it is we're going to take a look at all 33 of the new taxes that David Eby has implemented in his time. Take a look at those. We're going to make sure there's no carbon tax. That's going to help with affordability. We're implementing steps such as what we call the Rustad rebate. It's actually more of an exemption. So you can get $1,500 all the way up to $3,000 of a tax exemption off of your mortgage, rent, strata fees, things like that. So we're working on affordability from a lot of angles.
All right.
Yeah.
And during your time as a Penticton City Councillor, the current provincial government has increased its role in determining housing density in BC municipalities. In your opinion, how much power should be given to the provincial government in regards to density zoning, given the ongoing housing crisis?
Yeah, that's a really fair question. I think there has to be a balance. On one hand, you can't let certain municipalities just say, we're not going to allow any more densification. But on the other hand, I think there has to be more of a dialogue between the province and the municipality. So as opposed to the NDP, who legislated this blanket legislation, which also doesn't allow for public hearings, which is something that I'm against. Our government would work with municipalities to pre-zone certain areas. So I think it strikes that right balance between helping move housing ahead while also making sure that we respect each individual community.
And you are running with the Conservative Party, but you are not the only candidate who identifies with that party platform. Why are you the choice for voters who lean center-right?
Well, I'm not sure who you're referring to.
We're referring to Tracy St. Clair as she aligns with the Conservative.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for one thing, I think that my 2 years in municipal council is a really important experience point. 2 years is actually quite a steep learning curve, so I have quite a few tangible things that I bring to the table in terms of changes I want to see in the community. So I feel that having that very close political experience is an asset. And then secondly, just the way the party system works in the legislature, I believe that anyone can be more effective if you're with a party that's projected to win enough seats where you can actually pass legislation in your community. Yeah.
All right. And you served less than half your term on city council, and if you win this election, the city will need to hold a by-election. What do you say to the Penticton voters who, when they voted for you, expected you to stay on council for 4 years?
Yeah. Well, what I would say to them is, first of all, I'm not leaving you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be in the community, representing almost the same exact constituents, just at a different level. So I'm not leaving the people who decided they wanted me to be in a position to help make decisions for the community. And nobody cares more about keeping costs low in terms of a by-election than I have. And I think that to that end, I've spoken to the city. It's something that they budget for and have ready, and the cost to each citizen is about $4. So in my opinion, I think it's worth it to have a candidate who can go forward and be a really strong MLA for you.
Yeah. So you feel you'll better achieve what you've heard from residents acting as an MLA than a city councillor?
Oh, absolutely. Being on city council is fantastic, and I've loved it, but especially when it came to housing and crime, we did everything we could at the municipal level. We really couldn't do any more, and that's why I think it's time to send someone to Victoria so that we can change the policies that are actually still affecting us on crime and housing.
Conservative Party leader John Rustad had made comments on social media casting doubt on climate change science. Where do you sit on the role of a provincial government in tackling climate change?
Well, I would just start by saying that I think that tweet that John retweeted has been a little bit overblown. He's not always been portrayed fairly in the media. He has said flat out, it's right on our party's website, and I share this view, climate change is real, climate change is happening, and it's man-made. I think where my party differs from other parties is that we see it as a matter of triaging emergencies. So I would make the analogy to if you're driving in a car and you know that it's going to break down and kill you 50 kilometers down the road, but you're on fire, what are you going to do first? Put out the fire. So in my opinion, the fact that people are hungry, they're dying of the opioid crisis, they're dying on wait lists to get in to see physicians. They don't have places to live, they don't have jobs. We are facing crises that need to be addressed before we get down to trying to change the weather through taxes, which so far has not worked.
And you've stated you're committed to stopping the gravel pit should you be elected. However, the Conservative Party has spoke about their plans to expand mining across BC and reduce red tape. How do you think you'll be able to achieve this?
I don't see those two things as being incompatible. The NDP has also said that they're going to streamline mining as well because it's really important that we get that industry going. However, putting a gravel pit in what is clearly an inappropriate location over the objections of all the relevant stakeholders, and in my opinion, without adequate consultation, just simply doesn't make any sense. So we can definitely push that project off to the side while still being committed to streamlining mining projects generally. Yeah.
And another big issue on many folks' minds is access to primary care physicians. What would you do as an MLA to speed up the process of ensuring everyone in this riding has a family doctor?
So we have a platform that I'm really proud of. It's called a Patients First healthcare platform. And what that means is that we're going to let waiting times dictate what happens. So for example, you need a hip replacement, you go to the hospital, and it turns out that the wait time for that goes beyond medically recommended guidelines. In that case, the government will pay for that individual to go to a non-governmental facility at no cost to themselves. So this is a single payer universal healthcare system. So that's going to alleviate it, but on the point of attracting more family doctors, there's a few things. I've spoken to a lot of people in healthcare, and they tell me that they're burning out because they're spending a lot of their time, 30 to 40%, on administrative tasks. So we're going to take a look at whether that can be addressed so individuals in the healthcare system can spend more time actually treating patients, and then we retain more of them. We're losing a lot of people to this. We're losing a lot of people in this profession because it's very difficult. Another thing that we're looking at is speeding up accreditation for individuals who have medical training from other jurisdictions. So we have people, driving cabs who have medical degrees from other jurisdictions, and it's taking years to recognize that degree in Canada. So we're going to take a look at speeding up that process. And in addition, we're going to hire back anybody who lost their job during COVID, which is approximately 2,500 people, estimated to be around 700 doctors. So those are some of the steps that we're going to take.
All right. And finally, we may or may not have a majority government after this election. If you are elected, what's one local issue you'd be really willing to reach across the aisle on to support another party?
I think they're on any issue. I would be willing to reach across the aisle on any issue to support another party. And, I think actually the gravel pit is a good example where there were conversations happening, and I was very encouraging of Miss Tina Lee to come out in a show of bipartisanship and come out against the gravel pit. And she has, and that's great because now no matter who forms government, the citizens of Summerland are going to get what they want.
right. Well, thank you for joining us, Amelia.
Oh, I was happy to be here. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Click to Castanet for more candidate interviews leading up to the provincial election on October 19th. For Castanet News, I'm Casey Richardson.